Hello people, and welcome to Crypto Exposed. Okay guys, I've got a post here from the Hedera Foundation that I thought I'd share with you because this is a great read, and some of this I actually really related to, so I thought I'd share this with you. I think it's really interesting, and it shows you just some of the positives about Hedera, of course, and I'll like give you a little story as I go through it, because there's one part of it that I kind of chuckled to myself as I went through, because I was like, I've literally gone through this, so I thought it was really interesting. So let's get into it. Whether you're a first-time retail user or a multi-billion-dollar institution, Hedera DeFi is for everyone. Predictable fees, near instant transaction settlement, and no front-running means an institutional-grade experience for all users. Decentralized finance, in brackets DeFi, was supposed to democratize finance, but often feels unreliable for those without deep pockets or technical know-how. Failed transactions, unpredictable fees, and front-running bots are frustrating at best and exclusionary at worst. Hedera is changing all that, offering a new type of infrastructure built for reliability, fairness, and universal access. While it's true that much progress has been made in democratizing finance, today's infrastructure has also created new barriers for most users. Complicated gas calculators and setting alarms for 3 AM just to swap during non-peak hours feels like an unavoidable part of the experience. Hedera is changing all that with near instant transaction processing, fair prices, and a flat gas fee of around 0.001 USD, regardless of the transaction amount. The result is a new economic and technical architecture for DeFi that makes every strategy viable regardless of transaction size or time of day, finally delivering on the original promise of frictionless finance for everyone. So yeah, just a quick pause there. So this was the part that I had to laugh about, right? So I've told you guys that I actually have used Ethereum in the previous bull run, right? And I was actually using it for DeFi apps and stuff like that. And yeah, like basically, I was just testing out Ethereum with different projects and things and stuff, just messing around with different things. And I was using Ethereum at the time. And there was a point where basically, in the middle of the bull run, the gas fees were like absolutely extortionate. It was absolutely ridiculous. And because sometimes you would really be so busy, there were times where you'd actually put the transaction in, put the request in, pay the gas fee, and the transaction would fail. And you've got to understand that once it fails, you don't get the gas fee back. You've just lost the money. So you just have to retry the transaction again and hope it goes through. Now, you could up the slippage. So you could be willing to pay more so that there's a higher chance of the transaction going through. But again, that costs more money. And you shouldn't really have to be worrying about these types of things, that shouldn't really be a problem. And so with Ethereum, their gas fee, it's called GUI. And there's like a website that tracks GUI. And so you could have it so it gives you notifications when it will the GUI was low. So you could be like, oh, the GUI's low right now. So if you want to do a transaction, this is your best time to kind of get in. And so there was a point where, just like it says here, I would literally put an alarm on to wake me up in the middle of the morning, like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, because I know that's when it would be less busy and it'll be cheaper. And I'll do a lot of my transactions at 3 AM in the morning. So I literally can relate to this, and this is why I've said to a lot of people before, when it comes to people using Ethereum right now, I do think it's because of the fact that it's the second biggest cryptocurrency, so they've got a lot of liquidity, they've got a lot of users and developers on that network. But I think over time, I just can't see people staying on that network. I can't see people wanting to stay with these fluctuating fees and all this uncertainty of whether the gas fees are going to go through and failed transactions. I just don't see that being sustainable. So, this is where I speak from experience. I read that and it's you're talking about me, which just shows I'm just probably one of the many, because the fact that they can say this, clearly this is the experience of quite a few people. So yeah, that really hit home for me. Anyway, carrying on. Real world applications for everyday users and institutions. For most people, DeFi only matters when it helps them in real life. Imagine sending $10 to a family member overseas and paying less than the cost of a text message. With Hedera's fixed fees, even the smallest payments make sense. Think of paying a few cents for a Substack article or subscribing to a service by the minute. The same mechanics scale up to institutions. Banks and fintechs can move value with the finality and reliability that traditional rails struggle to match, all at a fraction of the cost and without waiting days for settlement. Multi-chain protocols have expanded to Hedera as well. Organizations such as KO, Swarm, and Ichi now support Hedera in addition to other networks. This brings liquidity and utility to Hedera DeFi without requiring users to abandon their existing ecosystems. They use Hedera where the performance, cost, and reliability deliver the greatest advantage for users. The result is infrastructure that treats a 10-cent payment and a $10 million transfer with equal efficiency. I've done a video very recently in regards to like microtransactions, and this is one I was saying about like the real big benefits in that regard, because when you think about how you want to do like small transactions at times, but if you think it's going to cost you a lot of money, why would you do it? And that's like when I talk about Ethereum, there was points where like I might just only want to transfer like $10 of Ethereum, but if the network was busy, the gas fee was going to be more expensive than the actual amount of value that I'm trying to transfer. And so this is again where it comes down to like, if you wanted to, just for example, buy an article, a single article, you might not want to have to subscribe to like a full service, but this is where the microtransactions are beneficial because the fees are so cheap that you could still do that anyway, right? Like if you only want to buy the one article for, let's just say like $1, it's like, okay, the fees are only going to be 0.001 USD anyway, so it's not going to really take anything from me. It's practically free. So yeah, this will be something that's beneficial. So this is where like the microtransactions is a big thing because, when it's bigger money, obviously people are willing to pay because it's worthwhile because there's a high amount of value, but you want to be able to do any type of transfer. You don't want to be just limited to just a high amount of transfers. So this is a big thing too. Hashgraph consensus is the tech powering fairer DeFi. Hashgraph consensus is the tech that gives Hedera a clear edge over other networks in terms of DeFi, fairness, and reliability. Transactions are processed in the order they arrive, reducing the risk of front-running or minor extractable value in brackets MEV. And the network's message handling capabilities that DeFi protocols run smoothly under real-world conditions. Hashgraph was purpose-built to handle financial-grade workloads with speed, fairness, and certainty. It's a distributed algorithm that allows computers in a network to agree on the exact order of transactions in real time. The process works a bit like people in a group chat instantly sharing updates with each other until everyone has the same information. Hedera finalizes transactions immediately with fair ordering, avoiding the delays and priority fees common on other networks. Every transaction is processed in the sequence it arrives, ensuring fairness and certainty for users. Users cannot bribe their way to the front of the queue. Hashgraph can handle tens of thousands of transactions per second. The consensus algorithm ensures the transactions are processed in the exact order they arrive. This creates an environment of fairness and predictable execution that many blockchains can't match. Every transaction also receives a consensus timestamp when it arrives and is processed in that exact order, preventing others from cutting in line and protecting users from MEV exploits. Everyone is treated the same way on Hedera thanks to the hashgraph. And while hashgraph's technical underpinnings are essential, it's only part of the story. The economic model that makes this technology accessible to all of DeFi matters just as much. Why Hedera's DeFi economy works for everyone. The economics behind most blockchain networks feels designed by people who never had to worry about money. Gas fees fluctuate wildly based on network demand, turning simple transactions into expensive gambles. You might pay $5 for a trade on Tuesday and $50 for the same trade on Wednesday, depending on what everyone else is doing. Hedera's infrastructure takes a different approach, with fixed cost fees denominated in US dollars for most transactions. For typical transfers or token swaps, costs are around 0.0001 cents. Whether moving a single dollar or a million, and remain predictable even during network congestion. Some operations, like account creation, carry slightly higher fees, but overall the system enables users and businesses to plan their financial operations with confidence. The network also comes with built-in services that eliminate the complexity and cost of building everything from scratch. The Hedera token service in brackets HTS handles token launches natively without requiring custom smart contracts. EVM compatibility lets existing DeFi protocols run seamlessly, with Hedera Contest Service in brackets HES managing off-chain coordination. Treasury management and multi-signature functionality come built into the platform. These services work together through HBAR, Hedera's native token, which serves multiple roles in keeping the system stable and accessible. All network fees get paid in HBAR, creating consistent demand regardless of which application or service you're using. The Hedera Council governs the network with a mix of enterprise members that prioritize stability over short-term speculation. As enterprise adoption grows, network activity increases, but fees stay the same. The result is a system where microtransactions finally make economic sense for everyday users, while high-frequency trading remains affordable for institutions. A teenager can tip a content creator 5 cents without losing 3 cents to fees. A bank can settle thousands of transactions per second without worrying about cost spikes during market volatility. Equal access regardless of transaction size is built into the economic and technical foundation of Hedera. Yeah, I think that's a really important thing, as I was saying, because this is why I was saying about the microtransactions. You got to understand that while they want people in terms of big banks to be able to transfer thousands and stuff, and yes, they can afford the cost, but you got to understand, banks are trying to save money too, right? If you look at a lot of banks, you'll see that they'll, do job cuts, redundancies, things like that. They'll look at ways to try and save their spending, budget stuff. It's not like banks are just willing to just throw money down the toilet. It's just that they've got the money to be able to do things if they need to, but they're not going to waste money if they know there's better alternatives. And so this is where obviously this is a favorable option for the banks, but then take it to the little guy as well, right? The average retail user. You've got even teenagers who will be able to send money, because you got to think let's just say a teenager wants to send some money over to another person. It might be their friend from school. It might be that they borrowed them $2, for example, to go and get some apple juice or something like that from the shop. These are going to be things where, for these teenagers, they can also make these little, donations and transfers too. How it says here, they might have a content creator, but they might not have big money to send over to someone. They might only be able to give them $5 as a tip. But for now, this will still make financial sense. If it's for example, you've got to say, send $5, but it's going to charge you $2. It's well, damn, that's almost half of what I'm sending, I don't really want to have to pay that kind of fee just to send the tip. So this is where it's making it available and fair for everyone. And the fact that it's predictable fees in US dollars, this will be a big thing as well. I know it's good in terms of all the other blockchains that are very cheap, but the fact that you just know exactly what it is in dollars, you can actually plan to the T what the fees are going to be, because that's not going to change, right? When it's just based on the cryptocurrency's value, even if it's low, it's still going to vary the price depending on what that cryptocurrency token is worth at the time. But the fact that this is just done in USD, you know exactly what it's going to cost regardless. So for businesses trying to plan what their expenses could be, the expenditure, this is going to be a big thing. So for enterprises, that's a huge plus. Finally, the infrastructure is just the beginning. Too much of DeFi infrastructure promises to fix everything while fixing nothing that actually matters to everyday users. Hedera is taking a different approach by solving the most fundamental problems first. Fixed costs instead of gas fee roulette. Fair transaction ordering instead of MEV extraction. Immediate settlement instead of probabilistic finality. It's about lending that works for small amounts, trading that doesn't punish retail users, and yield farming that generates returns instead of just covering gas fees. This is where DeFi gets interesting. Venturing beyond the infrastructure itself and exploring what becomes possible and practical with Hedera. In our next piece, we'll explore these protocols in detail, how they work, what problems they solve, and why they represent the first time DeFi actually makes sense for everyone. Hedera's infrastructure is compelling, but the applications and protocols on the horizon are where things get genuinely exciting. Great article, man. Great article. You know me, I don't really do articles so much anymore. I like to kind of just give my thoughts more, but this was a really great read. And you've got a lot of things there that you can see as to why Hedera would be, a top pick as a network. There's a lot of stuff that there I can listen to and really relate to. And I can imagine these being huge benefits as to why Hedera will attract a bigger user base long term. I really do see that. And, you know, some of the things I'm seeing when I'm looking at this, I'll be honest with you, I am looking at Ethereum because realistically, Hedera and Ethereum, they're the ones that are in competition, right? That's the most like similar network that I think Hedera would be looking to tackle. And I just see how Hedera, technology-wise and cost-wise, it just trumps Ethereum in every way. You know, the only thing that Ethereum has over Hedera is first mover advantage. That's it. Like, yes, Ethereum is the biggest network, but it's because it was the second created cryptocurrency. So it's got that advantage, of course. Like, what I'm trying to say to you guys is, if let's just say all cryptocurrencies came out at the same time, do you think Ethereum would be the second most used cryptocurrency, the second biggest cryptocurrency? I do not think that at all. I've got no doubt in my mind that Ethereum wouldn't be the number 2 cryptocurrency. It'd be quite far. I'm not even sure if it'd be in the top 10. Just because there's so many other networks that can do what Ethereum does better and cheaper. So realistically, I do not think that would be the case. And so this is why when I look at these things, I do think Hedera definitely has a chance to compete 100%. So yeah, this is a really great article. If you do want to see it, it's on Hedera's page. They've retweeted the article by the Hedera Foundation. So feel free to check it out and read it properly for yourselves. But yeah, a lot of positives here. And these are all reasons as to why I think Hedera could be successful in the DeFi sector. Thank you very much for watching this. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And hit that bell. Take care.